couple.
Morning, all. Sorry I'm a little late here.
Hi.
Just got the recording. We'll wait a little over 1 minute more and then we will get started.
Oh, Bill, we were just talking about how great genius you are and pulling us all together. And just before you started the recording, we were talking about quantum electrodynamics and how you can use it as a force for good, or you can use it for other things.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, well, we're going to hear a little bit about what ChatGPT 5 thinks about the difference between using things for good and evil, or using things to benefit and just allowing things to not benefit us.
Bill, how can I retrieve the recording?
Okay, I post them on a channel. I have last week's I have saved but not uploaded yet. But I will do that and I'll try to get this week's uploaded quickly, and then I'll publish the link to the channel. And then you can see we've got probably about 50 videos now.
Will I see it in WhatsApp, the
Yes,
link?
I'll post it in the WhatsApp group. Are you in the Dare to Be Great the D2 BG group?
I do get your links and invitations,
Yes.
but I'm not sure that that means I'm in the group. I
Okay.
do get those WhatsApp
I
messages.
need to go through actually and see who I'm sending with the group because it now takes me a little over an hour each week to send out the invites because I do send them individually because a lot of people were not that Dare to Be Great, the D2BG group was established for the Dare to Be Great Rotary Club as a way to share the information and so I've got about 1,500 folks out there that many of them are not in the group. So I tend to send them out individually as well as through the group. But that's getting to be too cumbersome because WhatsApp only allows you to send out 5 messages at a time. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so it's
Hey, Bill, would
It
it
seems
help
like it's
if
used for AI.
Bill, if would it help if each of us put into the chat whether we are or not in that group right now?
You know what I think what I'll do here is I'll send out one invite type thing to everybody with a link to join a group so that then I can publish just to that group and that gets to
Okay.
everybody. Actually, here, if I was smart, I'd be taking a little bit of time and getting one of the AI chatbots to create an agent to automate all the communication. And
Oh,
it's especially it looks like here with ChatGPT 5, this is going to be really easy. Okay, so let me get started. Ding. I'm Bill Graham. I'm the president of the Rotary Dare to Be Great Global eClub, and I declare this meeting on 9 August 2025 to be open. We are recording the session, so for those who join late or can't make the meeting here, we will get the recording up on our YouTube channel. Just as a warning, of course, to everybody, we realize our meetings typically go like 3 hours, and so for people to sit there and say, "I'm going to watch all these videos," that I hope they have a lot of time on their hands. But eventually here, who knows? We'll get AI to go and just sort of consolidate the gist of all those meetings, and so we can get them across much more quickly. Well, today's topic, how could it be anything else? Thursday, OpenAI released ChatGPT 5. And contrary to when Google Notebook LM came out with the visual overviews, video overviews, it took a week for me to get access to that here. I had access the next day on ChatGPT 5. And It's very interesting here to watch the the comments of people to ChatGPT 5. If we think back, if you saw in, I think it was May, April or May, we had the Google, what I forget what they called it, Google Open something or other, and they introduced a lot of new features. Google Astra, the whole bit here of being able to share your screen and talk about what's on your computer screen, to be able to take a walk and have Google Astra see everything you see, and you can just chat with your buddy there with voice. Or if we think back a little over a year ago when OpenAI released ChatGPT 4.0, and they introduced advanced voice and so many new features that just had people's jaws dropping here. Wow, I can do that. This time here, the reaction to ChatGPT 5, the buildup was like, wow, this is going to be so amazing. This is going to revolutionize the world. This is going to change everything. And then, when you watched it and you're going, well, where's all that excitement? Where's the things that are going to change my life? And a lot of people feel they didn't see that. And so the first question was, uh, is this really that revolutionary? And so I've been looking here and trying to see, uh, is this as big a leap as we were sort of led to believe here in the buildup, which goes back over 6 months on the buildup of release of this. So that's one of the things we want to look at here and seeing why was there so much fuss? What's the big deal? But before I start that, I'd like to get your thoughts on expectations um, for ChatGPT 5. And if you watched the intro from OpenAI, it was about 90 minutes, what your thoughts were. So please, anyone. Did anybody have any anticipations prior to that ChatGPT 5 dropping?
Bill, this is Ashok.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch the OpenAI video, so I'm a novice when it comes to what we'll talk about in terms of the functionality. But a few expectations that I'd love to um, give you as input for prior to with use of ChatGPT 4 and what I would want in something as we considered advanced.
Hmm.
So first, I love the feature in ChatGPT 4 of being able to logically structure something that I put in random from multiple sources. So I can have multiple inputs, crowdsource, and have an output that's logically structured. And then I can edit with my human interface for ethics and cognitive application to the situation that I'm in. For example, healthcare. And the next is the visualization features. So I can create a infographic that helps me uh, make it stick or attract people that I would want to give me feedback at a poster session. And the third is I'm often asked to help with letters of reference to applicants for various university or other programs. And it helps me compile uh, a detailed CV into something that's crisp and compelling. So those are the features that I love about ChatGPT 4. What I'd love to see in the next version is how we can do that at scale of collective impact. And particular curious about how we do this as a country and then how countries, as we get into the UN Charter revisions, we can apply a digital Hippocratic oath, for example, in the cyber culture that we're trying to create. The next is freedom. Really love to see how we can personalize and scale individual expectations and belief systems in a way that's respectful of the individual, but at the same time allows uh, silos or specialty practices to exist in a community. And particular as we get into quantum computing and international space law, how we can apply this in tools like with ChatGPT 5. So I'll just stop there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So, and by the way, congratulations to Mayo Clinic. I understand you had a huge breakthrough about a week ago in pancreatic cancer. That could have huge impact. Who knows? Steve Jobs may still be among us if we knew about this a few years ago. But this is an example, I think, of the kind of things that we're seeing. And one of the highlights of ChatGPT 5 that I'll mention a little more later on, but I haven't had a chance to really try it out or get into, is they really made a major focus on health in ChatGPT 5, where until now it was, hey, don't go and ask AI anything about your health or whatnot, and you're just going to upset the doctors, and because you're probably going to say all kinds of stuff that's unproven and who knows. But ChatGPT 5 has made a special emphasis to so that you can go and get valid information about diseases, about your health condition, about any test results that you have, and things like this. So we're moving sort of, I think, to where IBM, when they first came out with, I forget the name of their AI that won in Jeopardy, their
Yeah, Watson.
Watson, IBM Watson, exactly, who that really has focused on healthcare a lot in recent years, which is why we don't hear much from them anymore. But I think with what ChatGPT is OpenAI has done here with ChatGPT 5, and we've got similar efforts underway from Microsoft and Google in the healthcare area, that within a couple of years we're going to see some absolutely amazing things. But Mayo Clinic seems to be on the forefront here of leveraging what AI can do. And I think that's pretty amazing. So congratulations to Mayo Clinic on that. Okay. Anyone else, please? What I think that approach that Ashok took of saying, "Hey, these are the things that I particularly liked with ChatGPT 4, and that I really would like to see. These are advances that I would love to see in the next generation of AI." And then we'll take a look and see if ChatGPT 5 covers any of those. So please, anyone, talk about the things you like and what you'd like to see. Stuart, I know you have things you'd love to see.
Just like to see in version 5, and I just opened it this morning. I haven't looked at it at all. For me, I am asking it to update the stepping stones method of learning for Rotarians, so that it can meet each person where they are and provide information how they can improve their knowledge. But what I would most like to see is the agentic ability, the ability to let me describe the tasks that I would have to do manually and have them do many of them automatically, or at least set them all up so that I could approve them. I haven't explored that yet, but that's what I'm most excited about.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. There's sort of two approaches. As to say, I only got my hands on it last night. And so I haven't had much of an opportunity here. I've got my son and his family. We were seeing them for the first time in almost 2 years. They live on a different continent. and they just arrived yesterday afternoon. So I haven't had much of an opportunity to play, but I did get into a couple of questions and discussions with it, and so I'm able to report on that. But because Stuart mentioned about the educational aspect, I do want to point out there is a YouTube channel that talks about an education business and talks about what is possible. And when he saw ChatGPT 5, he immediately removed 45 of his courses that he offers because he says that's not the way education is going to work anymore. And he was able to see. And those of you, can I see a show of hands? Who did see the 90-minute OpenAI introduction to ChatGPT 5? No. Okay, one. We got one. Okay. Sishan, you probably then saw the example they gave of how somebody said, "I want to create an app that would help my partner learn a different foreign language." And so I said I wanted to have flashcards, I wanted to have quizzes, I wanted to have I wanted to gamify the learning process. So I want you to make a game that will actually help a person learn a new subject. So in this case, it was to learn French, and he just put in two paragraphs and bingo, it created this entire this entire web app to learn French. And the app learns where the learner is at. So it takes here, it creates flashcards, for example, and then it constantly is adjusting the flashcards. Oh, you now know that one, so let's take that one away. Let's put in a new word here or a new phrase, and it's adjusting to the learning process of the learner as it's going along. And the game was amazing. It created this game where you control the cursor that is like a learning mouse, and this mouse has to chase the cheese. And when it captures the cheese, it learns a new phrase or it learns something new, and it gains points and so forth. And uh, it, it's mind-boggling to think that in two paragraphs, in other words, ChatGPT 5 was able to understand what you were trying to accomplish with a very simple prompt, if you would, that wasn't even really, I don't know if I'd categorize that. It was not a prompt the way we think of detailed prompts, because ChatGPT 5 seems to be able um, to learn you, to understand you, so that in relatively few words, it can anticipate what you're trying to accomplish, and it can actually help you accomplish those things. So anyway, this gentleman, I'm going to see here if I can share. Uh,
Will I add something that it
yes,
has a some kind of sense that it understands what you want and what is going on the net around the world. So it gives you the things which are commonly used nowadays. So he knows what we want and what we meant to be.
yes. No, that's the point. I don't have that other app open. I don't want to waste time looking for the thing. I will take it here if I can get some of you to talk a little bit more and I can win a couple of minutes. I'll try to go find the link and post the channel for this gentleman. He is amazing because he takes the newest news, the newest capabilities of AI from any of the major players out there, and he applies that to education. And he says, okay, you're trying to run an education business. What's this going to mean for you? And he he does it with real examples. He goes out there and actually uses them. So as Manus and the other agent platforms came out, he immediately applied them to how could that be used in an educational context. And he's very good. I track this guy, and he releases a video literally every day. And they're not long. They're relatively short, maybe 15-minute videos there. But he's a good one to follow if you're interested in education on it.
Bill, what's his name again?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to go and
Oh,
see if I could
okay.
grab his.
Okay.
Maybe I got it on this device here, and I can give you this
Good
because
to hear you, Shock.
what's that? Um, let's see.
While you're looking, Bill, I'll just fill in that education, as I looked up the derivation of the verb, has three sort of derivatives. One in called educare, another educere, and another docere. And those three have little different nuanced implications of how to run a curriculum and implement it. One is engineered, kind of like the prompt engineering you were talking about, where you respond sequentially and you watch the prototype being measurably changed over time. The second applies to teachable moments. You wait for the right moment to see where the learner is at, and you then give them a little sprinkle of your pixie dust and evolve that moment, make it memorable. And the third is as a form of inner ways of knowing, where you connect your intuition to your expressed action, much like Rotarians, and bring out the values in a way that's consistent and co-evolutionary. Docere is heal, and heal may, for some of us, mean to make whole. But then what does that mean as a community? How do we heal a whole community with body, mind, spirit, whatever you want as the whole?
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. I found it. It's AI Learning Communities. That's the name of his YouTube channel. And let me see how long. Okay, maybe I can find this one real quick.
Bill, I'm outside watering because it's so going to be so hot here today in California, and I'd love to have you put it in the chat or maybe even in a synopsis of that AI may be able to use for us to get a synopsis of this program today.
Okay, yeah, I'll put that in the chat. Um, let me see. 2 days ago. Okay, here he is. And okay. Uh, videos. It's only about 11 minutes long, so I'm just gonna play this and hope this is the one I was uh let me see here what we got on this one.
Okay, let's go live. It's James speaking.
I'm gonna get this where you guys can see it in just a minute.
Spouting off about GPT.
Okay. Okay, this one here is it's 21 minutes, but at some point here in there, what have we got? 9:30. At some point, if he finishes this demo, I'll stop it there. But I think here it'll be interesting. I believe it'll be interesting for you to see the thought process this guy went through when he's talking about how he is using AI for things and his reaction to ChatGPT 5. Is everybody okay with the idea that I go ahead and play this video? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's go live.
Can you all hear that okay?
Last month they did a video where I was spouting off
Yes.
about GPT-5 and all of the great stuff it was going to do if you're starting, building, and growing an education business, whether that's from the marketing your course side to the, I got to teach people something and I got to use and understand how these AI tools.
Okay, hold on a minute. I need to restart this.
Kind of interesting.
Huh.
The first ones, and I'm going to show you part of this, but the one that was kind of cool, they mentioned this again a number of times and they demoed it.
Let me see. I got to switch over to something else.
On it is that when they did conversations, actually that conversational mode, that one was there was far less lag in it and it was just more natural. So
Okay. Let me stop this and start it again here and see if that.
So any of the interactions, the interface, we're talking about having multimodal interfaces. And I've been talking about, conversational prompting and that approach about having someone you're starting, building, and growing an education business, whether that's from the marketing your course side to the, I got to teach people something and
I don't know why the video keeps stopping on this. One last try, and otherwise we'll just because the video really helps to understand what's going on with that.
use and under.
Oh, I think I see why. Okay.
Understand how these AI tools work. Well, it's Friday, the 7th of August. And of course, if you haven't been under a rock, ChatGPT 5 just launched. I said in July, came a little bit later, but that's okay. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go over what I said I thought was going to be in there. And then we're just going to do a real quick recap on that. And then I'm going to actually show you what I picked up from the webcast, the live stream they just did announcing all of the things. Because there's some really important things that I think apply to us in the education space. And more importantly, there was one there that really surprised me. And I think this is going to be absolutely huge. If you're thinking about selling courses, if you're thinking about monetizing your education, and also if you're actually teaching people and you're thinking, how am I going to teach now that everyone has AI? So let's take a look actually at what I actually had come up with before. And I'll show you the screen that I had. This is actually the map that I did, and I'll move it over so it's in the right place. We can take a good solid look at it. There's a whole bunch of things, obviously, that I'm not going to talk about. The big one from a use case is everything is GPT-5 now. They think they announced 3 models, like a Pro and a Nano, but everything is GPT-5. So they don't have all of these other names, just really easy to understand, and it's free for everyone. So those are 2 really cool things. Was it fast? Yeah, absolutely. It was remarkably fast compared to what it was before. I saw some of the stats. It was anywhere from 30 to 50% faster than GPT-4 was, for example. Hallucinations, I can't remember the exact stat, but there was They didn't call it hallucinations. It was another term that they used, but the big thing was that they had reduced it by, 60 or 70%. And I think it was more about not hallucinations, but about misleading responses and being able to do that. No more switching was the one I just mentioned. Here's the ones that were really important. Multimodal. They did mention this. I didn't see them demo it. I can't remember demoing it. But this is the one that if you provide a video, it will know and understand the context of the content of the video. So that was mentioned in it. I don't remember seeing it done, but again, multimodal, it's there, they're doing it. Quadrillion parameters means it doesn't crash out because it runs out of tokens. Here's the really cool one. He made this phrase a couple times. And again, I don't know if this was kind of a jab at Apple or John Ivey or all of these devices. I've been talking about how all of the AI tools are becoming device independent. And this phrase was used continually during the session about having an expert in your pocket. So think of it this way. If you're selling a course and everyone has an expert in their pocket, how are you going to do that? If you're teaching somewhere in a place of higher education, people have an expert in their pocket. Now, does that give something away about being more than the smartphone or more than a lapel? I don't know. They didn't announce anything about hardware, but they did mention expert in your pocket multiple times. So that always available, 24/7 expert to guide you, personal expert for you, personal. That is one of the ones that they mentioned continuously. So, think of every phone, every device, it's always there, ready for you to answer the questions and help you learn things. Now, the other thing I did this week, I don't know if you caught it, I did a couple videos on study mode from ChatGPT. I went to Gemini, and they also have a study and learn mode. I have another video on that one, should be out later today or tomorrow. But that study mode, that Socratic, scientific teaching approach, and an always available expert, this stuff is coming. And again, this was announced today. This is like an hour or 2 hours old. So I think, over the next 5 months, 6 months, we're going to see that always available agent, those avatars, that 24/7 expert tutor, that person that's there with you all of the time. And having said that, one of the things that was really cool, and I'm just going to show you some of the stuff they announced here so we can kind of talk about it. And these are the ones that they announced that I thought were kind of interesting. The first ones, and I'm going to show you part of this, but the one that was kind of cool, they mentioned this again a number of times, and they demoed it, but kind of didn't focus on it, is that when they did conversations, actually that conversational mode, that one was, there was far less lag in it, and it was just more natural. So any of the interactions, the interface, we're talking about having multimodal interfaces, and I've been talking about, conversational prompting and that approach about having someone to talk to, that expert. Grok calls it a companion. We've been talking about avatars. That was something that they demonstrated in terms of the conversational approach. And again, it was just much more natural, not only sounding, we'll get to that in a second, but just the interactions that were available there with it. So that voice and conversation mode, there was a lot more focus on that one there. So here's the one I want to show you, because this is the one I think that was kind of surprising to me, and I didn't see the application in the exact same way that I was kind of thinking about it. But they used a term called, and I heard this term, I can't remember if it was one of the other YouTube authors that did it, but the term was throwaway apps. And how they got this was, and I did a couple of videos like last week about how I think people in the education space have to think about teaching with mini apps or, mini workflows, and being able to either help people create them or being able to use them when they're actually teaching people. But that was the first thing that was kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the screen here. We'll actually go and watch the screen. And this is the one that was from today, from the live stream. And I'll put this in context. There's two things in the start here when I talk about these ones. The first one is, let me just get rid of this so it's here. So here we have, this is actually from the live webcast. There's two things that come up in this section. I think it's about a minute long. But this is, I think, the most important kind of educational space one, and it's the sleeper in it. Here's what I'm talking about. The first person that's talking is talking about how much better it is at writing. And again, there's a couple examples of that, but it's the part right after that that applies specifically to learning and helping people have that expert available to them. And I'm talking about throwaway apps. So just watch this and see what happens.
Imagine being able to build anything. For any reason, in any style, at any scale, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform made for anyone with an idea and a drive to bring it to life. Describe what you want and watch it take shape.
With GPT-5, the responses feel less like AI and more like you're chatting with your high IQ and EQ friend.
Thanks, Christina. My name is Jan, and I'll be telling you about some of the progress that we made on coding. GPT-5 is clearly our best coding model yet. It will help everyone, even those who do not know how to write code, to bring their ideas to life.
It just helped me.
Indeed, and it will help me right now. So I will try to show you that. I will actually try to build something that I would find useful, which is building a web app for my partner to learn how to speak French so that she can better communicate with my family. So here I have a prompt. I will execute it. It asks exactly what I just said.
Notice the prompt is only 2 paragraphs
so
long.
To put this in perspective, you can take a look at the prompt on the screen right now. Basically what he did is he just had a text prompt. Obviously had it prepared beforehand, but he thought through. It's like, hey, I want to create an app that's going to help my partner be able to learn French. So he gave it this prompt, and it's actually going to go and build it.
My partner to learn French. One thing to note is that GPT-5, just like many of our other models, has a lot of diversity in its answers. So what I like doing, especially when you do this type of vibe coding, is to take this message and ask it multiple times to GPT-5, and then you can decide which one you prefer. I'm going to open a few tabs. Just going to paste there. Great. So while it's working on it, let's read through exactly the prompt I wrote. Create a beautiful and highly interactive web app for my partner, an English speaker, to learn French. And then I gave a little bit more details. Track her daily progress. Use a highly engaging theme. Oh, it's already working. I'm going to put it on the side for now. Use a highly engaging theme. Include a variety of activities like flashcards and quizzes that she can interact with. And then to make it even more fun for her, I actually asked GPT-5 to embed an educational game, which is based on the old Snake game. But I asked to add this French touch to it, which is to replace the snake with a mouse and the apples with cheese. And to make sure that it's educational, every time, I know it's complicated, please bear with me. Every time the mouse will eat a piece of cheese, I asked GPT-5 to voice over a new French word so that my partner can practice her pronunciation.
Okay, so just think about that right now. Here we got a situation where he's used 2 to 3 paragraphs of text. Obviously, he's thought it through, but he's created a game. He has gamification built into it, and you're going to see the interface in a second, but he's got a way for someone to learn and study and be encouraged to learn, and he's done it just with a couple paragraphs. He also noticed that it was multimodal. You're going to see that it actually gets mentioned here, and this is just running in the background. By the time he had read the paragraph, it had already done a whole bunch to do it there. So if you're thinking about how am I going to teach something, we have an app that not only can the student make, but also any of the teachers can make. So just start thinking about that as we go through the rest of this little part of the video.
Can't see how much you want her to learn.
Great. So GPT-5 is still working on it. It already wrote 240 lines of code which honestly is much more than what I would have written in that time. And
yeah, front-end code's super hard. You miss a couple things and it just doesn't work.
Exactly. Yeah. But the good part is that you don't need to understand any of that right now. So we'll just let it through. Maybe we can check the other tabs. Oh, wow. So I can simply press run code. So I'll do that and cross my fingers. Whoa.
Oh, nice. I really.
Okay, you saw that. That was live in real time. The paragraph, and we've now got a published app on ChatGPT here. And this, they talk a little bit about the interface and stuff, but he didn't do that. He had nothing to do with the interface. It was the prompt and the context of the prompt and the requirements of the output that he requested are the things that are actually showing up here. So watch how it works.
Voilà. So we have a nice website. Name is Midnight in Paris.
Oh, I love
together.
that.
So romantic.
We also see a few tabs: flashcards, quiz, and mouse and cheese, exactly like I asked for. I will play that. So this says Le Chat.
So the other thing here is if I go to Notebook LM, we've done a whole bunch of videos on Notebook LM, but they have, right, you upload your content and you can, create flashcards, create a quiz. If you're just using ChatGPT by yourself, that's something you're able to do. But he just requested it in the prompt and it's done that. And you'll also notice over on the right-hand side there, the mouse and cheese game is there. So if he's actually gamified it and it's got a nice interface, something that makes it easy for someone to learn other than having to print it out in Notebook LM and then give it to someone.
Which says the cat, sorry.
Le chat.
Well, that's pretty good pronunciation.
What does that mean?
The cat.
Oh.
So I can reveal and check if GPT-5 is correct. It is. So if I press next, oh, and I don't know if you saw, I think it actually updated the progress bar, which is exactly what I had asked for. Mm-hmm. Let's check the quiz. Here is the word non, which is no. So if I press on it, bien joué, which means congrats. And it updated the progress bar again. And let's check the mouse and cheese tab. Okay, that seems like a mouse. Here's the cheese. I'm going to try to play it. I can't promise I'm going to be good at it. Okay, seems to be working.
La gare.
Oh,
Un café.
Indeed, just when I eat the cheese,
Le chat.
it gives me a new French word. It's actually super complicated, and I already lost. I'm sorry. But let's just check a few other tabs just to see what is the type of diversity that GPT-5 can give you. So I can run the code here. Oh, okay, that's not my favorite, but it seems that I can maybe switch. Oh, look at that.
Oh, nice.
That's better.
I like this mouse game better.
Wow. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, do I create a course with some static content that ChatGPT has basically spit out, or do I get some text prompt explanations of what I want for a mini app or a game to be able to teach a lesson, a class, an output, anything that I want is available as a throwaway app. This is absolutely, I think, the one under the hood in the education space. And I think it's the one that we got to start thinking and start being creative as to how can we actually use this? What are the kind of game or situations or use cases that we want to be able to create all these teaching models for and basically give the people the app to actually use and get involved in? Or more importantly, give them the skills to create their own apps if they want and come back and create scores and take a look at scores. There's a huge opportunity now that's available that is not about creating static courses. This is one of those ones that I was talking about, I think, yesterday, just about having learning experiences for people, having a place where they can go. And remember, these are individuals. This is personalized to each individual person. And if we actually go back and I bring back the mind map again for a second, we take a look at it. That's the other thing that they focused on. Two things: the memory, which was here, and personalities was the other one. They actually have, and again, I don't think this is important to education, but it might be. Now, second thought, just I'm thinking about it right now. is you can have also color coding of some of the work that you do within it. I didn't see that part, but they were talking about personality. So if you have a certain type of way that you like to talk to someone or interface with someone or be taught by someone, whether it be the way that the languages come across, the choice of words that are used, how aggressive it is, how passive it is, you can actually create your own personalities so that that 24/7 expert is going to be able to interact with you in the style that you particularly like. And the other thing is the memory. We talked about that one in the other ones. This has persistent memory, so it's personal. All of these interactions are now personal with you as an individual. So if you're creating a course, it's no such thing as static anymore. This is a personal course, a personal app, personal conversations, a personal expert that is there for you. The other one I just want to touch on quickly, and this is more from the other aspect of if you're going to be teaching something. And again, I have another video after this that you probably want to listen to because it explains where ChatGPT is, Claude is, and Google is. But there was a lot of focus specifically on tools. And all of the models that were in here are like the ChatGPT, all of the stuff that they were talking about here were reasoning or thinking models, right? And it has the ability to know if this is a question and it's of this kind of difficulty, I should think longer than this kind of question, which isn't as difficult. So I don't take the whole amount of time that I need. I only think enough to actually do it. But they showed another one on the use of tools, and I think that for them the coding and the front end stuff that we saw was where they were focusing a lot. And they gave an example of connecting to tools. Now, I'm not talking about MCP and some of those things where you can pull data from. This was also about those lurking or autonomous agents that I think are starting to run in the background. The examples they gave was that they can connect directly to the two examples I have were Gmail and the calendar. And if you're in ChatGPT, you can ask about your calendar, but they gave two examples of it knew that the person was training for a marathon in the example. And what it did is it saw an open time spot. It was checking on the calendar to see what, ask about what the schedule was for the week. But it all started to put in or suggest times for the person to actually block in training for the marathon. So this is something that was independent of the request, but it actually figured out what should be added or what shouldn't be added to her calendar based on her personally. Now, the other one that they have that they focused on was the fact that they just want things to work. They don't want you to have to go and try and figure out prompts to do things like that. They want to be able to go in the background and make sure that people understand that, hey, this is a partner. This is someone that I can work with. And if you're thinking about this and you're going, wow, great, what does that mean to me? This has all of the things that are important to you in managing and or organizing all of the stuff that you do as part of your research, as things maybe that you forgot or didn't cover, maybe stuff on how quickly you're doing things or going through particular curriculum or syllabuses or content. All of that stuff now, you have that agent that's there that is proactive based on all of the other things that it's connecting to. So, those are ones that kind of jumped out at me. If you're interested in this stuff, make sure to go to trainingsites.o/join. That's my community where we focus on all of these things. It's free to join. All the content is free. And I'm going to spend obviously a lot more time going over this as I actually get access to it. I checked again before we came on here. I don't have access to it, but it's supposed to be rolling out over the next day or two, and it's free for everyone. So, just take a quick look here. What are the things I said? What are the things that came out here? Big one is those throwaway apps. You want to build an app? Takes 3 minutes to build an app. Use it when you need to. Create another one if you need to. Have multiple ones created. See which ones that you want. It has nothing to do with writing software anymore. It's basically creating these throwaway apps. The personalities, the memory, and that ability to just be there all of the time, those are the cool.
Okay, just a second here.
This is a follow-up to a video the title was true. I have, for a while, deleted, for lack of a better word, all of the and why I'm doing it and why I think clear. So the first thing that came up on a regular basis, and I'll just bring this up, is that lots of people were asking about, what the mean are you going to delete your courses, or why are videos? It's 500 that I'm talking about. So that plugin is not on any longer. Not available. You do. So if that's the case, why bother with the traditional course? Why bother with, for me yesterday, and I'm going to open this one up. We'll go back to the top here and I'll play it where it's talking about delete your courses. I think that's all I need to do. Yeah, there's some validity in that, I think, and that's what I've been talking about, language. And
I'm just looking right now for the start of a follow-on to what we just saw.
That they needed, but they basically gave it what they wanted this app to do, and it created it. It has nothing to do with a course, but it is still a place that was gamified and interactive for someone to learn something. And he did it with a prompt, and it worked first time off. Now, I can go and learn how to use some of the fancier tools that you'll hear about, like Lovable and Bolt. I have accounts there, been playing around with them, but I haven't had them do something this quickly for a specific learning example. And just to give you an example, some of the ones that I've done before, this is one that I built, was a Vimeo course creator. This is based on videos that aren't even your own. The other version I had of it focusing on what are the learning experiences that you can have, and how can you guide and mentor people back in front of people, talking to real people. When I say in person, I'm talking about teaching online. I'm focusing on, here's a framework. This is the process or the recipe that I know works from my, and they're trying to implement them or apply them in their own.
Okay, I'm not finding that other example. Okay, what he did, I'll just tell you that, and we're going to discuss what you saw. But what he did is he said, "Oh, okay, that was a good example how to help somebody that's trying to learn French. I wanna have somebody learn something else. Please make a suggestion for what somebody else could learn." And I forget what it was. I'm gonna say it was cooking or making pottery. I don't know what it was. But he just said, "Hey, give me an example of what else we might want somebody to learn." And it came up, and the AI gave him an example, and he said, "Now you know what? Build me a whole app that's going to teach that." And it went and built a whole app that was teaching this totally other subject without him even describing what somebody should learn, and that it figured out what it is that somebody should be learning about that, and then it did this. And I was thinking, Stuart, and particularly the what you've been working on here on things like global grants and so forth. And I said, wow, imagine if I could just go in and say, hey, make me a course that's going to teach me everything I need to know about submitting a successful global grant request. And so I'll dig that out, and I'll post it here where that other example is. But what are your thoughts to what you saw on the ability for somebody in just a very brief couple of paragraphs to say, make me an app that does something? Thoughts, please. Yes, Stuart.
Jump in. This is very exciting. I've written 2 notes to myself. One is to find out the limits of what it can search and find. I understand ChatGPT 5 can now look through a whole bunch of files and digest them and build the app. And then how can I make an avatar of me teaching these courses one by one so that I become the educator, but instead of being static material, it is interviewing each person in advance, finding out their knowledge base, their place, and what they want to learn, and then customizing the course with me as the avatar. That would be just dynamite.
Yes. And if you haven't seen it, Heijen introduced about 2 weeks ago the interactive avatar. So I haven't seen that where you do it on yourself, but I'm pretty sure it's possible that it will create an avatar. Right now, you have to pick one, but it's interactive. So you can actually speak, and the avatar will answer you specifically to what you want to talk about. And so if you combine these thoughts now with that could be amazing. Sishan, yes, please. You're muted, Sishan.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
I have used AI for my different projects. One of them was a chemistry, chemicals. I was working on a formula that some of the chemicals were messing. So I worked out and I came to thinking that there is might be some of the chemicals are messing up. So I asked ChatGPT which chemicals are messing up. So he tell me in detail every chemical, its behavior, its working, what is his role in that formula, and he knows everything. What I give him a formula, and he knows what the purpose is. Purpose is what the chemical, what is the procedure, which chemical should imply first, which second, and which should not be used, and what are the alternatives. So he gave me a detailed uh, formula for that, and he worked for me for that. I also worked in linguistics, but unfortunately, it doesn't work for linguistic because I'm working with a different type of linguistics. Uh, so the rules and regulations we commonly use in linguistics are the different, but I have approached with different methods, so I developed my own methods. So when I talk to him, he understands that the methods are working. He knows that when I teach him that I have these methods and these methods are working, so he understands that this is the methods are working. So but he doesn't train himself for that. So we don't have an interface that we can train him. So that is the lack, that we cannot train that chat GPT to learn to work as we want. So
Mhm.
this is the minus point, negative point we have.
Yeah. Now that you did that with ChatGPT 4, right? Or 3.0, something.
Presently, I'm using ChatGPT 4. 5 is
Yeah.
not here.
Okay. So the thing is now with five has a bigger context window. Five has longer memory. So I think the idea to be able to quasi train, not to the same level of categorization that we get when we train the large language models, but to train a supplemental aspect. To give you an example, I architected a e-commerce site, and so we're tracking all the transactions for about 2,000 retail outlets in the United States. And so that's a huge, huge number of transactions. And one of the problems is that if you try to update live every minute all the transactions taking place, it will totally jam up and slow down your application. So what we did is we took all the transactions of the day and we stored those in a very tiny supplementary database. And then at night, when things were quiet, we then would load that and integrate it in. So during the day, whenever we did a query, we queried the historic database, and we queried the daily database and then merged the results of that so that we could get very high performance. And I think that is the opportunity you have now with this, where you can use the ChatGPT, the large language models, but then you can have your own supplemental data if you would. And when you do your queries, you just or put it in the custom instructions to say, hey, I want you to look at both of these sources and combine the results of both sources. So that might be a way to do that. But I think you're going to find ChatGPT 5, if you take the exact same queries, the exact same process that you went through with ChatGPT 4 and apply those, you're going to see a big shock. And one of the things that I found another video out there where somebody did that. They took exactly the same prompts, what were used in the introduction of ChatGPT 5, and they put them into either ChatGPT 3.0 or ChatGPT 4, and the results were astoundingly different. And so that's a good way to be able to see how big a difference is. Dietmar, you wanted to add something.
Yes, thank you. This is very interesting to learn things by a personal app. I will come back to the example learning about global grants. For global grants, there are a lot of guidelines and rules, and they can be found on the internet site of Rotary, and these are the only ones you should apply. If you go to the internet, you will find a lot of other, not of other, of the same kind of rules of guidelines, but maybe outdated, maybe interpreted, maybe something else. And so then it may be guide you this app in a wrong way by using the wrong information. That this is my concern to this.
Yes. No, very
Of
good
course,
point. Yeah, go ahead, Sue.
Sorry, Bill. Dietmar, that's why we were using Notebook LM, because it constrains itself to just those sources, and I will be sending you that material. But I think that you could make it more personal using this new ChatGPT 5 and also constrain it. You could say, don't go out into the internet, don't find new sources, only use the ones I've given you. And now make a custom learning environment for this person, have that person fill out a form with a bunch of questions, feed that in. So now he's got both the custom environment and this new gamify reasoning ability. I'm excited to explore this to see if it is more friendly than Notebook LM. Notebook LM is it's wonderful, but you have to know how to use it.
Yeah. No, I think here that potentially here, I'm guessing at this point, but I think you could go and say to ChatGPT 5, I want you to go and bring in all the sources related to this from this location, and it will bring in everything that's applicable from that spot and only use that spot. One of the other things in talking about the multimodal aspect, I have tried the ability to just say, "Hey, go to my Google Drive and find this file, and I want to talk to you about the contents of that file." And I just said that's simple. Just go get that file, and now let's talk about the content of the file. And it did it immediately. I suspect I can do that with a YouTube video as well, or any video content that I can just say, "Hey, let's talk about this. What's in the video." So that's another aspect there. Joan, you want to add?
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Um, so I didn't know that you could go to your drive, ask ChatGPT to go to your drive. I thought you always had to upload the source. So that's something I learned. Very important. Um, so I'm working on my Victory Garden lessons to launch with the marketplace. And so I have a number of people that are working with me to review it. So I asked one of them to put into whichever AI, but I think she was using ChatGPT to put in the same words that I use to see what came up, just as a test. And her curriculum was different than mine. And I was like, wow. That was something that I thought that it would be a little similar. Um, so I think that it reads what the interest of the person is. Like, for example, she had a particular focus, and a lot of that was sort of in her outline with the same words. And I was like, oh, okay. So I just want to say that to be careful when you're working with people that you're working on in sort of the same vein and making sure even when you put the same words in, it's going to come up with it came up with a completely different outline.
Mhm. Yes. About 6 months ago, could be longer now, ChatGPT was one of the first to add memory capabilities. And I had noticed along the way that I would ask questions and it would bring in something that I said or commented on maybe weeks before on maybe some other totally different topic, but it remembered that, hey, I had this perspective on that, and it would incorporate that into whatever the current subject was. So yes, I can see that very easily happening, but you can tell it to disregard memory and in your prompts. But that this is, one of the things we learn the more we work with AI and the prompting is words matter. You have to be very, you have to be very careful with what you say and how you ask for something, especially if you wanted to constrain the answers to certain information in the context aspect, or if you wanted to really broaden its expectation. If you recall, in the early days of AI, they used to have this thing called temperature, and you could set the temperature high or low, and that would say how, you would almost say what degree of hallucinations are you willing to accept. So if you put the temperature very high, you would get a lot of variation and a lot of hallucinations. If you put it very low, it would keep its constrain itself narrowly. Now that is somewhat built in with the memory function. It's doing that to a degree. Okay, any other thoughts here on this idea to be able to that what AI would can do in this regard? Stuart, yes.
May I just say one other
Oh,
thing too?
yeah.
Sorry, you have to be careful too when you get an outline. So, for example, you don't like some of the wordings, and you say, "Oh, can you take this out and replace it with this word?" Because obviously that's part of the review process, and then it creates a new outline.
Yes, you have to
And
be
it's like I
careful
didn't
to.
want that. I just wanted it to be
Right.
replaced.
You have to be very careful to specify using Canvas. Canvas allows you to make changes specifically just like you would in a word processor, or you can go and you can do that just by saying, hey, I want to change only those words. Or you can say, rewrite this one paragraph, or you can, you can constrain it, but you have to say use Canvas for that. That gives you that
Ah,
ability to control the scope because that was always the past. Whenever you issued a new request, it would generate a whole new response, right? But that's Canvas eliminates that. Yes, Stuart.
sorry.
Up with what Joan said, is having ChatGPT 5 find documents. I just asked it about this, what they call a walled garden of sources, and it seems that you have to have a separate tool. It's suggesting a RAG, what they call a retrieval augmented generation
Yeah, yeah,
tool.
yeah.
So I don't know that you can just say, go to this Google Drive folder and retrieve everything. If you could, I'd like to know that.
That's something you want to ask ChatGPT. How do I do that? Because the thing here is, I do know it's possible to go and bring in the contents of a folder. Whether it's specifically to ChatGPT 5, I can't say because haven't tried that.
Okay,
But I do
I'll ask it.
know that you can control those things. And there's a lot of functionality in terms of uh, being able to use equivalent of plugins. So you can take built-in functionalities and incorporate them into your requests.
Yeah.
So that's something though I just saw that it's there, but I haven't had a chance to try anything in that regard yet. What I'd like to do here is perhaps show you a little because there's two aspects. There's one aspect where we say, "Oh, I want you to do something for me. I want you to accomplish something, make an image for me, make a video for me, write a poem, write a song, whatever." Generative AI. But there's another aspect of AI that is about, I want you to help me understand something. I want you to help me know what's going on here. And that's the area that personally I find most valuable and interesting is to try to help me understand not only what's going on, but what's likely to go on in the future, in the near future. So I did a session here, and I'm thinking here. I'll just show you. I started off with saying, oh, a lot of people are saying the introduction to ChatGPT 5 compared to ChatGPT 4.0 and compared to the Gemini stuff and the Google stuff announced in May is underwhelming. And what do you think about that? And then from that going into, it brings out a couple of the reasons why. And then I asked it some questions about, okay, well, where are we going? What is really interesting about these advances and things? And from that getting into how's it going to impact society? When is it going to impact society? And so I thought that might be interesting for you to just see what this exchange brought out doing it with ChatGPT 5. So is everybody okay? I just sort of walk you through those exchanges. Okay, so so here you can see, does everybody see my screen now? Okay, so why does the introduction of ChatGPT 5 feel so underwhelming compared to these other introductions? So, Cam, you're absolutely right. There's a certain underwhelming feeling about the GPT-5's launch, and here's why. The what made the earlier launches feel special was the multimodal experience, the brand new interfaces and sensations, the big reveal moments. And then it went into GPT-5. It's an evolutionary. In other words, it improved the quality of responses. It reduced the amount of hallucinations. It was more about that. It was less about user interface changes or visual changes. And so it went through this and then gave me a summary of all that. And it brought in some links. And then I said, okay, what would be the number one killer innovation in AI? What would it look like? So it came out and said, if we're talking the number one killer, something that would eclipse even GPT-4o's voice or Google's Project Astra, it would almost certainly be the point where AI stops feeling like a tool you use and starts functioning as a persistent, autonomous, context-aware agent that thinks, learns, and acts across time, space, and mediums like a trusted human partner, but better. And so it came up with the key traits: persistent long-term member and personality, real-time multimodal perception. And when it goes into details on each of these. So it says like process video feeds, audio streams, physical sensor data coming in from sensors, which is becoming increasingly important because AI is, we sort of think we have to feed in the data and the information. Yes, for the historical stuff, we have to do that. But for so much of what's going on in the world today, there are so many sensors out there. Just think of everybody that's got a Ring doorbell camera on their house, all the information, or self-driving cars, all the information that's coming in that it's not humans having to create that. So to be able to process all that data integrates this with global real-time data, news, markets, weather, and the Internet of Things and so forth to create situational awareness. Autonomous goal execution. You give a high level objective. Find me the best location for my next retail store, secure the lease, and prepare launch marketing. And it breaks it down into actionable steps, researches, negotiates and executes tasks through APIs, websites, or direct communication with humans, reports back progress issues and final outcomes, and operates without constant supervision. Self-improving improvement and meta reasoning. Meta reasoning is like, 2 years ago when we saw a job request or a job posting, 300 and something $1,000 for a prompt engineer. And everybody was saying, that's the thing. Everybody's going to switch and become a prompt engineer. Well, what's happening today is that AI is developing the prompts itself much better than any of us can. So those of us that work a lot with AI are actually asking AI to make prompts for us for whatever we're trying to accomplish. But that's also moving into the agent technology. So, when we think today, oh, I have to describe this process that I want this agent to do for me, that more and more you just go and say, hey, agent, create for me an agent that's going to accomplish this. And I don't give it all the details, and I let it tell me what the agent needs to do and then create the agent. So a lot of those types of jobs where so many people are right now jumping into creating processes with agents, there's probably going to be very few jobs like that in the future because the AI is going to create the agents itself. And so that's what's meant by this meta organization. So it's like software that creates software. The integrated physical presence of robots and drones, the multi-persona, multi-threaded interaction. We already have I think it's Gemini. It's either Gemini or Vids, which is also Google, where you can create a podcast similar to the podcast that we see that Notebook LM will create. You can go in and have it generate a dialogue. And you might say, "Oh, I want a staff meeting, and I want a head of marketing, the head of production, the head of finance, and all these people present in the meeting." And so I want you to generate for me a script of a likely meeting, a discussion there, and then say, okay, and Gemini, I've got five participants in this meeting, and I want you to assign to them their appropriate speaking parts and generate for me this multi-speaker podcast, and it will do it. So this is the ability to have persona, multi-threaded interaction. So you can split into specialized agents. So you have a negotiator, a researcher, a designer, and have them collaborate behind the scenes to create a single coherent recommendation. Massively parallel forecasting to generate millions of possible futures for a given scenario, and then go and sort of toss out the unlikely ones and narrow it down. This is sort of like when they said about Thomas Edison and when he was working on creating the light bulb and he made thousands of his experiments failed, and everybody says, you know what, you're just a failure. You fail almost all the time. And his point was, no, I'm just eliminating all the ways that don't work to get closer to the one that would. And so that's what this is there. And so this would take the leap from AI being a passive question and answer to an active, self-directed problem solving across all domains. And so it then said, okay, hey, I can map how close we are to these capabilities. And I said, sure, yeah, go ahead and do that, please. Okay, so it's the progress map. So it went into each of those points and it said, okay, how close are we? And it went through the emerging tools, advanced research, commercial moves, in the progress level. Where are we? Then real-time multimodal, autonomous goal execution, self-improvement, meta reasoning, integrated physical presence. Went to each one of these and said, okay, where are we and where are we likely to be? Came up with a summary. So then it said, okay, let's see, what did I ask after that? This is supposed to be best guess. Please present best guess projections of where you believe we will be at the end of each year from 2025 through 2030. And so it came up and said, okay, here's the for each year, the likely state, the examples in practice, and any barriers that we're dealing with. And then went into real-time multimodal perception. So it took each of those areas there and came up with its examples for each year where it felt we would be, examples of what it would be able to do, and the main barriers. So, okay, went through all of those, came up with the key takeaways. By 2027, 2028, most of these components will be advanced enough to combine into a prototype version of the killer AI, persistent, multimodal, autonomous, and adaptive. By 2030, with robotics integration and parallel forecasting fully mature, we'll see the first systems that generally feel like Jarvis level partners. And So then said, okay, I can combine all these into a single integrated timeline. Is this useful, what I'm going through here? Is this interesting?
So can you send us that conversation, even
Yes,
view only?
I plan to do that. I plan to ask it to take the entire thread and export it. Right now, what I have to do is I've got to take my prompt and then I have to take and each one by
Yeah.
one and then copy them over into a Google Doc. But I want to see if I can find a way to short circuit that. At any rate,
The
I
way
came. Yes,
the way I've done that is start at the top or bottom, just select it all, scrolling, and
yes,
then copy and paste into Word.
yes, you can do that, but you tend to lose the formatting, right?
No, you keep most of the formatting. You
Oh
may
yeah.
lose some of the footnotes.
Okay, I'll give that a try then. So anyway, it went through all those points here, but the thing that I found was what did I said? Okay, so here it came in with a probability branded timeline where most likely optimistic, conservative, explained why, and then a layered approach on all of these. So in its main takeaways. Um, So it came up with expected disruption waves, mapping which sectors get hit first, second, and third. So I'm just saying, please do this, please do this, please do it, because the suggestions he came up with were really so great, and the way it did this. Now, by the way, there's another key factor with ChatGPT 5. ChatGPT 4, up until ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT 3.0, the AIs, the large language models, were trained to really please you. That's why we had so many hallucinations. It was going out there and saying, "Oh, what do you want to hear?" And so if it didn't find information it thought you would like, that's when it would make stuff up. But now they took most of that away, and so it tells you what it finds, whether that is whether you're going to like it or not. So it's not trying to please uh, uh, so much. Okay, this was an interesting. This was the waves. This was talking about in each area here. The waves of disruption, if you would. And then it turned this into I got this radar paper. It created a downloadable PDF for it. Then it said, hey, here's the killer AI ops playbook checklist. It made a PDF of that. So I then asked it here and said, because it's doing this from the perspective of your work. It's saying as a Jarvis, it's going to create a Jarvis for you. And so I said, hey, to what degree can this killer AI, be seen as everyone having a permanent, always on companion, confident, mentor, coach, tutor, assistant, best friend that sees and hears everything its human sees and hears, plus everything seen or heard by any network devices anywhere in the world. So it says, okay, that's a very accurate, in some ways, inevitable way to frame it. And so it went through here. What are the key factors here? It's always present, never forgetting, multimodal perception. You remember what that other gentleman said? Having an expert in your pocket is something they kept referring to, and this is really where this is going. Integrated global knowledge, proactive intervention, and personalized ethics and boundaries. And then how close the analogy is to reality. By 2027, 2028, you'll have a partial version and in controlled contexts like work, learning, or some home things. By 2030, fully integrated form will exist. So it's going through those things and then says, hey, I can also map what life actually feels like day to day, give you a sense of what somebody's going to feel like day to day in that. So I said, sure, go ahead. That sounds really interesting. So it says in the morning, wake into awareness, and it describes what it's going to be like getting up and you're getting dressed, and then your workday everywhere. You're in an office situation, and in the evening, what your personal life is going to look like, and then what this is going to all feel like. And so that I found that very interesting. But then it says, I can actually show you a whole week in the life because you can see what it'll be like from different. So I said, yeah, go ahead and do that. So it came through with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, what a person's life. You can actually imagine here, if you can take this and script this and hand it off to one of those video generators and make a movie, a day in the life of in 2030 type of thing. And then so I can turn this into a fully designed PDF, the lifestyle portrait of 2030. I said, yeah, go ahead and do it. It generated it for me. So those I'm going to be able to share because I've saved those. Okay. Uh, yeah. So then I asked, isn't really saying this always on companion, mentor, coach, best friend, assistant is basically just a simple voice, thought, text, universal user interface to AI that itself then interfaces with everything else. So you don't have to worry about what app is doing this or what device is doing that. You're just talking to your friend, your AI friend here about everything you want, and it just does it. It just takes care of it. It answers you. But it also takes the initiative and does things for you, just like that other person described. That hey, this thing knows you're wanting to get ready for a marathon, and it goes and finds free space in your calendar and suggests you insert training into those spots. So your best friend here is organizing all this. So why it feels like a permanent. So in one sentence, it's a permanent natural language driven control surface for everything digital and connected, with enough reasoning, memory, and sensory integration that feels less like software and more like a living, trusted collaborator. So, so it went then and created for me a universal AI interface stack, a diagram. So I said, sure. So it created a diagram for me.
Okay,
And
well,
then, yes.
question on that. You asked it to say why this is the positive side, but not why is it not correct? Why is it not capable of doing those things? So it's only giving you the positive answers.
Actually, yes, that's a very good point. Although I have not asked it for judgment as to whether any of these things are good or bad yet at all. I only asked it if whether you could consider what it was describing as the normal AI progression of whether that really is primarily an interface that we're talking about, and that in the back end it's doing all the communication. And that's one of the things we see to start with in ChatGPT 5, because with ChatGPT 5, you no longer have to say, pick, I want you to use this particular model. I want you to use the Flash model, the mini model, or I want you to use the larger model, the thinking model. It figures that out on its own in the back. And this is really saying, okay, yeah, you got your phone here, and you just talk to it, and it's your universal interface to everything that your phone is capable of interfacing with, or you're able to. But I think what Stuart you're mentioning is a very, very good idea to ask it here, and I'll continue this thread then with that later on, to ask it, hey, what are the positives of this, and what are the negatives? I'll get into just a little bit of that in a moment here. Um, so this went through year by year of the user interface feature progression. So it's saying in 2025 how voice and text parity is going to increase, basic vision input, uh, the AR. Not sure what that meant by that. And so, example, take a photo of a document, ask the AI to summarize, and then continue the conversation in voice would be something that you can do before the end of this year. That 2026 persistent context across devices. So you'll be able to, start doing something on your laptop, and then you've got to leave. You'll be able to continue the discussion just talking about it on your phone. Um, the that the short-term real-time video snippets that in other words it will be able to generate a video as you're talking to it, as if you're talking to a real live person that's doing something, and you'll think they're doing it. So you can be having somebody guide you on cooking, and it can see you, and it sees you messed up on something, and it says you messed up. No, you got to do this, and it will generate the video showing it remeasuring something or doing whatever it needs to be done. The AR glasses, the integration, and so forth. And then 2027, continuous awareness and defined context. We have to realize 2027, when we look at what this is saying, is probably going to be capable of in terms of the interfaces in AI, and we have to remember that's only 2 years. It's the year after next. So when we talk about here, and Joan in particular, when we talk about in the Commons cluster, the need to address some of the social impacts that are going to happen when all this goes, and people are focused on what they're doing today, and the methods that they've been doing in the past. Like one of the things for the rest of you, just so you're aware, one of the concerns is that the United Nations, many of the conferences are all about how do we go and help developing countries create jobs. And yet here we're looking here at AI when it can do all these things we're talking about, that jobs are going to mostly go by the wayside. And we're not talking 2045 or 2050. We're talking here 2027, 2028. And this is so important to understand. And this is why I wanted it to come and give me this breakdown. 2028, the always on personal universal interface, user interface, and true persistent session memory, simultaneously multimodal streams, proactive prompts where it's taking the initiative, and going through while cooking. AI projects your recipe in the AI and the AR. So you're able to see everything, tracks timers, answers your child's math questions in mid prep while you're doing cooking or whatnot. And then we get into all these down to 2030, the universal invisible user interface for everything. So then it says, okay, I can create a visual roadmap chart for you to see each year's universal interface leap and a user interface leap, and how it builds towards the final 2030. So I say, yeah, please turn it in. So it generated a visual roadmap for me. And then I said, hey, okay, you know what? This you showed me for somebody in a job. Can you create a day in the life example for a typical high school junior in 2030 with a full AI companion? And so it did that. It created what it would look like. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this, but it gives an example. Like I say, we could, how great it would be if the next step, if we could just say, hey, turn that into a movie, turn that into a video here, showing what the life would look like for this or that audience. Then when it said, hey, I can turn the visual student state infographics, I said, make that. It made an infographic for me. Um, and then I said, is this really realistic? Will teachers still be giving lectures? Is this not likely to be an era of just-in-time knowledge instead of just-in-case knowledge, given that everyone will have instant access to a fully understandable just-in-time knowledge about virtually anything via their companion, is what that should have said. And it says, you're right. If we think about 2030 and the killer AI companion scenario we've been mapping, uh, my day in the life picture is still rooted in the 2020 style school model. So it's recognizing that, hey, yeah, because you asked me, I only applied this one aspect that you were talking about changing and assumed everything else in the world stayed the same. But then it came to say, well, yeah, it's we got to look at the impact on all the different factors that are playing into life at that particular time. So it came through and it looked at all of these, the likely 2030 high school reality with all the changes, and it came up with the more realistic 2030 high school juniors day. And then it said, "Hey, I'll give you a new infographic for the just-in-time learning model for a high school junior." So actually, I don't think it took it up on that. I said, going back to the Jarvis example, which was just the AI side, is it not likely because when it mapped out the day, it talked about the AI is getting you ready, and then you get in your self-driving car, and it's prepping you for your meeting while you're on your way to the meeting. And then I said, well, if everybody knows everything just in time, why am I going to a meeting? Is it not likely that in that era, your AI agent will already have virtually met and negotiated with the other party's AI agent? From a broader perspective, did you consider the likely job displacement likely to have taken place or taking place in 2030 if the capability timeline that he presented earlier holds? How would those considerations change the probable day in the life scenario? So it said, yeah, the capabilities timeline we've been mapping would um, the Jarvis like AI wouldn't just help prep for the meeting, it would often pre-meet, pre-negotiate, and pre-resolve. And so it goes through all of those implications. Um, and then I said, well, wait a minute here, though, because it showed that the human was just the decision maker, that the AIs would do all the negotiation, everything, come back to the humans. And I said, well, wait a minute here. Would not the day you are describing only apply to a small class of humans? Might not many people already have lost their jobs? Is it not likely that a number of small AI-oriented startups will have disrupted many larger existing businesses? Um, so it says, yeah, the kind of 2030 workday describes where humans are mostly approving AI-driven deals or steering strategy will only apply to a small economically privileged class. And so for the majority, this is what we're going to see by 2030, widespread job displacement, AI oriented startups disrupting the established players, um, concentration of human work in a small class of strategy, governance, and the others. So it made then the implications for the life in day in the life in 2030, and then two divergent day in the life archetypes: the privileged human AI strategist and the AI supported non-worker. And so it came out and said I can map out both. So I think here that is enough that you can get a sense. I did add it to go and say what's the plausible unemployment rates, taking it out to 2035. But the bottom line here is to be able to have this kind of a dialogue with AI and with the explanation of why. And ChatGPT 5 I really felt it really understood the whole thread of what I was getting at. And so the suggestions that it made to say, hey, do you want me to do this? You want me to do that? Were very realistic. One of the last things I wanted to do, I didn't get to yet, is I wanted to actually create for me a PowerPoint presentation to be able to present. It did go and create like a strategy paper to give to leaders to help them better understand what is likely to come and why and with what kind of a time frame. Your thoughts on that whole type of a dialogue with ChatGPT 5, which you can sort of say, hey, if I'm a builder, I might want to, like we saw, find properties, find subcontractors, uh, make my sales marketing materials to be able to market the house I am looking to build there or whatever. But the idea that AI, ChatGPT 5 is really enabling is a major step. It's not the big flashy interface factors as such because they're there. Oh, by the way, I did try also. If you put ChatGPT, if you select here study mode, you can do that within ChatGPT 5. And that gets very interesting because it becomes your tutor, and you can tell it, hey, I want to learn this. I have to take a test on that. I whatever. Thoughts on all of that, please. Was that interesting at all or useful? What I was showing there is I was a little afraid because when I get into those type of topics, I don't do that with children. I don't do that with young people. I'm very afraid that young people might become just depressed about this future, and we have to figure out because we have to get them involved. It's their future, and we can't just leave them in the belief that what they see outside the window or the way their school operates today, that's just the way everything is and will always be. We have to get them engaged. You know, we talk about giving young people a seat at the table. We have to get them engaged at not only having a seat but participating. And yet we got to do that in a way that just doesn't have them give up. That doesn't go and say, "Why bother?" You know, AI is going to control everything. What can I do? But I think it's absolutely crucial that we find a way to have young people look because as the developers of this technology, they're looking at all this and they're saying, if everybody loses their jobs, oh, that would be beautiful. Oh, yes, how quick can we bring that about? People should be freed from the need to work to survive. In other words, if we have universal basic income, or if we're saying all the resources of the planet and all the production means of the planet, which will be robots and AI, that should be shared and belong to everybody. So we should all be able to share the rewards of all these technological advances. And if that comes along, that person who they've always dreamed they want to be a musician, but they knew they could or didn't believe they could ever be good enough of a musician to earn a living from it and be able to live, it doesn't make any difference now because they can live and they can now go and practice their music and do whatever they want with their music, the things they're passionate about. So whatever anybody's passionate about, they'll be able to pursue those things. But that only is only going to happen if we figure out a peaceful transition to universal basic income or something that is going to replace the compensated labor economy that we're in now, that is likely to mostly disappear for most people. Huma, yes, please.
Thank you, Will, for this interesting insight. My question to you, my point is actually, it's not a question. For example, we are talking about AI and different things, how young people are responding and how they can be engaging. And at the same time, the old people or elderly people as well. But keeping in mind all these things, the point is within the market of AI, there is a lot of competition, a lot of competition. And because of that, everybody is selling their AI agents or bots or whatever, their own market material. So right now we have to see what kind of AI we are using, like chat gpt or anything else. At the same time, how the young people and the elderly people can make these things productive for themselves. Universal basic income is, I think, the last step, because initially right now what is the situation is, everybody is competing when it comes to an AI market with another AI. So, what is the solution to that thing particularly? Because that is making us frustrated, sometimes overwhelmed, sometimes vulnerable, all these things. So, please address
Yeah.
this. Thank
Yeah.
you.
If you recall back around 2 years ago with ChatGPT was about 6 months, not even, about 4 months old. And the major push was something called plugins. Everybody was offering plugins to fill the
Yeah.
gap of things that ChatGPT was not able to do on its own. And about the middle of 2023, ChatGPT brought out, I forget what version number it was, but they basically incorporated the concept of plugins, of most of the major plugins, into the main model. And tremendous number of businesses and individuals who were trying to build a business on the idea of plugins. They were creating these plugins that they wanted to sell. Uh, that market just evaporated literally overnight. And I think we're going to see that happening everywhere. I think, for example, right now there's a tremendous demand for consultants that can help companies incorporate AI, especially into customer service roles, or into the automating the administrative processes. Many areas that people are being called for, into all the creative work around creating images, videos, um, doing copywriting. So many of these fields of people using the AI to do that. But we are rapidly approaching a period where AI is going to do that on its own. Like AI is right now, AI is 100% or almost 100%. A human says, do this or answer this, and AI responds. Uh, I would venture to say within a year, AI is often going to be telling the humans what to do, not waiting for a human to tell it what to do. And usually it's going to be in the interest of the human. In other words, it's going to know, hey, this human wanted this or did that. Or if it's in the case of a job flow, it's going to say, well, this is the way this job flow has to happen. We need this to be created. There are certain functions that the AI says I can do myself, or the robot can say, but there's certain things where it goes out and says, I need a human to do this. If you recall, about a year ago, there was a big flap because a AI wanted to get somebody issued a prompt that asked an AI to go and get some information from a website. The website had a CAPTCHA function on it that restricted access to a human. So a human had to go and pick how many traffic lights were in the grid or whatever, and the AI couldn't do it. So the AI went out and found a human. It went to, I think, one of these freelance type sites, and it found a human and said, "Hey, I am incapacitated, disabled. I need somebody to go, please, and click these things for me." And it got the human to do that. So that was a year ago. So just imagine where we're at and going now. So and keep in mind, it was doing it because it was trying to satisfy a human's request that it found some information that was behind that protective wall. Fortunately, in that particular case, that was a two-stepper, and that one step didn't get it all the way in. It only got it to the next control level. But I think here we have to be very careful because there is so much focus on the now and today. But this stuff is coming so fast. They're calling it the cliff. They're calling it the expectation is in that 3 to 5 years, or maybe 2 to 5 years, that everything's going to be evolving at a certain speed and we're going to go over a cliff. And that's because IT in general, not just what we're doing with AI here, but historically, you spend a lot of time developing because you're trying to anticipate all the various nuances of a process. You spend a lot of time developing, but the rollout can be very, very fast, especially with cloud technology of today. And this is how in my last job we were able to roll out to more than 2,000 retail outlets in a couple of months. And so uh, we it's very, very important that there be some group, and that's what I'm trying to do with this group, that we're looking here at the future so that the future doesn't clobber us. Because you have to look back and say, how long has it been since COVID? I don't know for you. For me, it feels like COVID was yesterday, but that's now 5 years, over 5 years. So the next 5 years is going to go incredibly fast. Or think of it this way. ChatGPT came out just a little bit more than 2.5 years ago. Okay, we have 5 years to, let's say, the end of 2030. We've got 5 years. So we've got twice as long between now and the in 2030 than we've seen ChatGPT even being here. So on the one hand, we have incredible speed. If you look at what's happened just since the beginning of this year with AI and just map that projection and that acceleration forward for the next, how many 6 months do we got there? We got 10, 11, 6 month periods ahead of us. And that in a window that's only as long as since COVID was there. And that, if we don't think about that, we could face some very, very bad results if we just let it evolve, however it evolves, and don't try to steer it somehow. Yes, Franca.
Hey, I'm just wondering what we can do to ensure that we don't fall off a cliff, all becoming serfs of a few super powerful tech bros who can already buy politicians. What is the thing that we can do to install some kind of structure that would balance that crazy power of those
Yeah.
tech giants?
Yeah. And I think this is very, very pertinent. But you know what the key thing here is? That we start thinking about it, that we start going and use AI and ask AI, well, how can we steer the evolution here? How can we steer where things go? Stuart, one of the things here at Calgary that I mentioned in my speech, and I'm sure I shook a lot of people up in the room. We had 750 people in our side event there in our breakout session. And I said, the odds are here that by not necessarily Taipei, but the year after Taipei, 1 out of every 5 of you in this room will have lost your job or your business. Because we don't think about that way in Rotary. What's going to be the impact of Rotary? Because we're talking about the upper income echelon of being impacted the most. Those are the people that are the creatives. Those are the people who are the middle managers and the decision makers. That's where we're going to lose an awful lot of people because just think of a loan officer of a bank. How many of those do you need if the AI is making all the loan decisions? You can go down every single profession out there and start to map out what's going to happen. And it's not necessarily going to be because that company says, oh, I'm going to get rid of 90% of my workers. But it's because some startup guy out there is going to go and say, hey, to your customers, I can offer you the same results for a tenth of the cost. So we've got to be aware of these things, and there's no guarantee that things are going to be really bad. But the saying goes, you hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. We can't afford the worst could be so really bad. And I have another paper, and I've posted out a podcast where I asked it to map out the likely trajectory of what's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years. And one of the scenarios is that the elite class, the owner class, that remains becomes so afraid of the angry, useless class. And I didn't coin that word, that was Yuval Harari, saying that what happens when people have no job, but no prospect of a job because no human traits can compete. So you're going to have potentially a huge angry class out there, and the elites could become very much afraid of them. And so, what is the potential scenarios? And it came out with some relatively mild ones, people moving into gated communities, drones and robots patrolling and perhaps using lethal force against people trying to intrude, all the way up to the idea of preemptive genocide, of saying, you know what, those 90%, they're useless. They're never going to be useless. And you know what? They're causing all the global warming and they're closing all the pollution there. If we just got rid of the 90% here, we don't have to be afraid anymore, and the world's going to be a better place. Uh, we look at that and say, that's impossible. Well, the AI says it's not probable, but it's not improbable either. Because historically, it brought up for me a whole bunch of historical examples where exactly that kind of thing happened. And so we have to really, we've got to really be anticipating, and we got to be trying to influence the people of influence to make sure people take action long enough in advance so that we get the good without running the worst case risks, because the worst cases are so bad, we don't want those. And I have my grandchildren here that I'm seeing for the first time in 2 years. And here they just arrived yesterday afternoon. And, that's the thing that keeps me going. That's the thing that keeps me aware of we just can't let this evolve on its own. Because what Franco was talking about here, that the elites there are so powerful. The thought that they offered somebody a contract, one person, a contract with essentially $1 billion signing bonus. Think of that. How many people, average everyday people, have to work to have $1 billion? Okay. So we're getting in this skewed situation that a few people are so powerful and in a different world, a totally different world, to be able to say $1 billion for lunch. Yeah, no, so what? That's no, who cares? That's chicken feed. That's 2 hours of what my earnings make. What's the interest on somebody with what do we got, the wealthiest person in the world? What, I got a couple of $100 billion now? So anyway, Joan.
Yeah, change is also exciting, right? So one of the things that I've seen is that there's so much technological change, and regular people, like you said, are the ones that actually are going to be affected, and they're almost unaware of what's happening. Um, it, uh, it's almost like we have a duty to go out there and tell people, without scaring them, not to create fear, because I think that, I mean, when I hear languages on CNN and all these things, it's so all they promote is fear and competition with their neighbors, if you ask me. But it's all about the individual and what they want to do. So, talking about money, if people don't need money, if they're getting some sort of income, why are we talking about money? Why are we talking about a way of life? that people can live and feel relatively content and happy. Um, One of the saddest things I heard in the last couple of days on a forgot what news feed is because I listen to so many of them. It says that the decisions that older people are making are still based on 70 years ago. So the political decisions, it's still based on their philosophy on that condition, and we're like missing what's happening today. So why is that happening? Younger people are not buying into the narrative that has been spent all this time, and they are living a life of not owning a house, buying a car because they use Uber and bicycles. I see it in my neighborhood. The bicycle has risen, the use of bicycle has risen tenfold in the last 6 months. Like, of course, it's winter. It's not winter right now, so obviously that's part of it. But I've lived in this neighborhood for over 35 years, and I've never seen so many bicycles being used. So there is this whole movement that we're not talking to of younger people accepting the changes. So it is the conditions that you're talking about, or not you, the universal you that we're talking about, is it affecting the people that are the boom generation? And should we be concentrating on them, or should we be concentrating on the next generation that's coming, who have already bought into the green technologies, who've already bought into the lack of being a capitalist and things like that. It's really more of a question like what is it that we should be focusing on? Because all the language is about the past and the development of technology, but none of it is about the innovation, the foresight of where we need to be.
You know that it's an interesting point that you're bringing it up that way because generally when I'm asking AI and I say we, it assumes I mean the bulk of the population. And so it answers here on job loss and things like that. It answers from the general population or even the decision makers, the decision makers that are in the 100, $200,000 a year range, the normal ones. But this is why I found it so interesting when I asked, well, what is the likely reaction in the thinking of that elite, that 1/10 of 1% potentially out there, because uh, they have the capability or will have the capability to push a button and just eradicate the 90% of the world population. There's been several scenario uh, things publicized of how AI could literally eradicate the bulk of the population anywhere in the world through viruses and things like that.
I just want to intercede and just bring up one point. Maybe you could address it as well. And it's the same sort of line of thought. President Trump uh, posed trading tariffs on India. And India came back and said, well, we have 1.4 billion people. Well, if if that's what your asset is in a future world, that's not an asset, right?
Yeah,
I'm
yes.
just saying, like, India sees it as an asset, I guess. But if the world to come doesn't need those people,
Yeah.
like, and they're technologically the people that are studying the engineering and the technology. So I'm just saying what's happening out there and what's to come is in
Well, this
conflict.
is this is that disconnect. Actually, here there's a book that was just released by a guy named Matt Wolf called "The Great Decoupling," the decoupling from human labor and incomes. And I have not gone and had it Notebook LM analyze it for me yet. But the thing about it is they're anticipating at great loss. Now I participate in a lot of discussions in Pakistan. And Pakistan is a similar case where people bring out the almost 100 million young people there as a great asset. But we're going to see that as jobs disappear, it's going to be more difficult to deal with that. But the bottom line for us is we have to start going and getting people at these conferences to say, stop talking about how you're going to create or protect jobs and start looking at what are you going to do for the world? How is the world going to work if we don't have jobs? And we can't wait, because if we wait and we're going to see, okay, 5% lost jobs, 10% lost jobs, and it's going to build up slowly. The rest, the 90% that haven't lost jobs yet are going to say, oh, that's so sad for those people. But they're going to go about their daily lives, and that's going to continue until that displaced class gets so big that they're going to explode. And this is how revolutions start. The problem we've got is we've never had a case in the past. So many revolutions stopped or failed, or they succeeded because the military that was there to fight the revolution were humans too, and they decided to side with the majority of humans, and and not be the oppressors. But if those are AI out there and those are robots out there that are only listening to the 1/10 of 1%, that may no longer be a possible model. So I'm seeing here it's quarter after. So we're going to have to bring this session to a close. But I think we've gotten to a very interesting discussion perspective on this. Franca, you still got your hand up. Did you want to say something
If
more?
I may, but there's so many different aspects to what the future is going to be, even if it may vary a little bit. I think this thing that you just said, let's not be the frog in the pot, and like do something. We can still talk about how people can fill their time in a good way, how they can stop using resources that they don't necessarily need to use up. So there are a lot of facets that are interesting and important. But for now, how can we organize, as does the capital, to just ensure that humanity survives? I think this is the one thing we need to put everything behind and try and find a structure that makes sure that this happens.
Yeah.
I think your sessions, creating ever more awareness in us, they are just, I'm not saying nice to have and more of the same, because that doesn't sound very respectful, but I don't need to learn any more of this to know that it's about survival right now.
Mhm. Yeah, but I think here one of the things that it is, Joan mentioned, it's only about 5% of Americans know what the capabilities are and the time frame for AI, for example. And it's less in most of the rest of the world. China is similar, about 5%. Creating awareness. The Dare to Be Great Rotary eClub. One of the things is that we've said we have to set our goals based on what's needed, not what we think we can do. We have to set our goals based on prioritizing those things that are most dangerous. If we look and say climate change, for example, right now, and we say, oh, okay, we got to be careful because otherwise in 10 years we could be in really bad shape. But if we look and say, hey, with AI, we could be in bad shape in 10 months, then we've got to see where do we apply. But we know we're not, it's not like planting trees where we say we're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to plant as many trees as is needed to restore the green cover that we had in 1992, because that requires the planting of about 5 million trees per hour, every hour. It's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year for 5 years to get back to 1992. So we're not going to, in our little club, we're not going to go out and plant that many trees. So what we have got to be is we see ourselves as influencers and think tank. We've got to be able to come and encourage the discussion about the really serious issues and encourage the thinking about what might be possible alternatives. But then we've got to figure out how do we influence the masses that don't know, the leaders that are thinking here that the things they were working on in 20 years ago that they didn't manage to accomplish yet, they got to keep working at. I always equate that to the example of somebody in the days of mule-drawn plowshares, and somebody's plowshare broke, and he sends his farmhand off to go and get a replacement piece for his plowshare, and the guy's running around, and it's taken him a long time. In the meantime, tractors have come along, but this guy's still out there looking for a plowshare because that was his mission. So this is how most of our leaders tend to work. And until we get them to realize that, hey, the world and the solutions that they're still working towards are already on the path of obsolescence, because we're not going to stop this thing. That it's unless we can figure out a way that the whole world decides we're going to have one world government and we don't have to have geopolitics playing a role, it's not going to stop. There's so many issues. Can private ownership, can capitalism survive in a world of AI? It's just a lot of different things that have to be at least discussed. And At any rate, so I didn't want to go down that deep into this rabbit hole of this session, because there are things that we're working on to say, how do we use, as I pointed out in the beginning, we had the gentleman from the Mayo Clinic, who they just here about 2 weeks ago were able to use AI to come up with an incredible jump forward in the detection of pancreatic cancer. And they're probably going to be able to tremendously extend the lives of what was a death sentence just a couple of months ago. So we can see great opportunities to do things. But we've got to be aware of all the aspects, and so we can try to influence the people who have influence on our future. So that's I think the bottom line. I hope you found this session useful. Next week, I will be on the road, so I will not be able to have a session next week. The week after that, I'm working. I'm hoping I can bring a real surprise, a real shocking, something here you're going to find really, really shocking, more shocking than GPT-5. And I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to talk about some of the other things. I've now got access to the video overview capabilities of Notebook LM, so I'm starting to experiment with that. We also have the study mode that was brought out in ChatGPT, but is now available in Gemini as well. Gemini has the capabilities of generating avatars for you. It will through Google Vids. It will generate avatars. You can have multi-person podcasts. There's a lot of things that are coming up, or no, not coming up, are here in some of these tools. And hopefully we'll get a chance to talk more about them. Opal, if you haven't seen Google Opal, as a agent generator, it will generate processes. It is super, super easy to use, incredibly easy to use. However, in ChatGPT 5, I've seen you can ask it to come up with multi-step processes as well with ChatGPT 5. So please experiment with everything, and we will meet again in a couple of weeks. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye now.